Hey everybody, it's Tracy here at TierraCast, and thank you for stopping in to watch with us today. You might have joined us a couple of weeks ago when Kirsten and I did a live video introducing our new Finishing Touches launch. But what we really wanted to do was follow up that initial video with some focusing on the smaller groups within the collection, because this collection is just some really innovative and interesting parts. And so we're starting that today with the crimp ends. So the crimp ends, those were a part we developed because we wanted to give people an alternative to ribbon crimps. We wanted to create a really beautiful way to end seed bead and loomed and just jewelry designs that, you know, there may not be a lot of great options for finishing them. So we came up with these parts that we're calling crimp ends. We have a 12 millimeter palace, and we have a 15 millimeter crescent, and we have an 18 millimeter Marrakesh. And the Marrakesh is two-sided, so that's a fun little detail about that particular one. Now all three of them have an opening about the same size. It's about 3 millimeters, but it's something that can be widened and closed to fit your materials. When we did the jewelry designs for this group, we really wanted to show a lot of techniques and a lot of different materials. So we did a little multi-strand design. We worked with seed beads. And we sent a few samples to Diane Fitzgerald. She's this wonderful seed bead artist. If you guys are familiar with her, she's really great. And she's a Starman trendsetter. We sent her some samples, and she quickly sent us back this wonderful example using some Checkmates beads and our crescent crimp end. So we were thrilled to get that because it's just a great example. We did a loomed piece. And then we also, because tassels are kind of the never-ending trend, Kirsten created a tassel design for us. And we also tried it with our own leather strap. So a lot of different materials. And to secure the crimp ends to your design really does depend on the materials. If it's a soft material, you can crimp the end down tight enough to hold it. If your design includes some more delicate materials like seed beads, then you open or crimp the piece to fit your materials, but then you don't want to crimp down too hard on a seed bead piece. So we use glue for those types of designs, which I'm going to demo both of those things for you guys. So what we have here, well, let me say this. The first thing you want to do when you're working with a material is you want to adjust the size of the opening to fit your materials. So the easiest way I've found to open them is to just insert the jaws of chain nose or needle nose pliers and then just spread those open a little bit. Oops. And that way you can get that opened or opened enough to fit your materials. And then if your material is more narrow, and we'll demonstrate that with this little seed bead panel here, you would take a pair of pliers and just gently close it. I find that nylon jaw pliers are working really well for this. I use chain nose and flat nose as well, but because of those hard metal edges, it can mar the piece. So nylon jaw pliers I found were the way to go. So for this particular leather piece, I can just put the crimp end on there. And I'm going to put my glasses on because that always makes things easier. And then I can grab that with my nylon jaw pliers, and I'm going to go from a couple different angles and just crimp that down, test it to see if it feels secure, and it feels pretty good. And that's how simple it is to do a softer material. Now,
no glue, Tracy?
No glue for that, but I am going to, oh, and you guys just heard Julie's voice. She's my camera person here again today. So with this pretty little piece of beadwork, it's peyote stitch with size 11 seed beads, I'm going to want to use glue with that. So again, I'm going to open this a little bit just so I can get the glue in there. And I'm using some E6000. And I've got a toothpick. And I'm just going to put some of that glue on the inside surfaces of that crimp end. I don't know if you guys can see this very well. I don't want to use too much because I don't want it to ooze out when I pinch it closed. But I think that's enough, and I'm actually going to close that up a little bit more again because these size 11 seed beads are pretty narrow. And then I can just... here's an important thing to keep in mind. This larger crimp end is two-sided, so I want to make sure that I've got the right side facing up on this design. And I've got that in place, and again I'm just going to take my nylon job pliers, and because these are seed beads I'm going to do this carefully, and I'm just going to crimp it down a little bit so that it fits the size of the materials a little bit, and I can tell that the surfaces are in contact with the glue, and then I'm just going to let that dry. So that's how easy it is to use the glue with the parts. And now we've got this cute little earring idea that that we came up with. We did a couple of initial designs. I used the palace with this red suede lace, and I used the crescent with some green. And today we're going to do the second earring for this little one. So suede lace comes in a lot of variation. You know, sometimes it's very thick. This is kind of a very delicate little suede lace. It's really nice. So I've cut a piece that's about 12 inches long, and I'm just going to start at the front of my fingers and wrap it around 3 times. So I've got a nice little coil, and then I'm going to grab that with some long tweezers. And then I've already made sure that this crimp end is wide enough for the lace to fit in there. So I'm just going to flatten that a little bit. I want to make sure it stays kind of nice and lined up. And then I can fit the crimp end over it and hold those at the side so they won't fall out. And then just come in here again with my nylon job pliers. And I've crimped it a little bit, but now I want to look at it and make sure it's kind of straight and not too funky. And it looks pretty good. So then I'm going to go in with the plier jaws again and secure that. And yeah, it's holding really nicely. So now I can go in with my scissors and cut the loops at the bottom. And trim those ends. And I'll finish those later by just putting a ear wire on there. So you can see how easy they are, and because there's so much suede lace out there in different colors, that this could be a lot of fun to work with. And I really intended to make a nice pendant to wear today for our demo, but I ran out of time. So that's how easy it is to work with the new Finishing Touches crimp ends. We do have other crimpable products in our line.
Before we move on, you're going to be doing make and takes.
Oh, that's right. These earrings, I'll be doing make and takes with this earring design at the Whole Bead Show in Oakland, which is on, I'm looking at the calendar, which is on
First weekend in November,
15th, 16th, and 17th. And I'll be doing make and takes with these earrings on Saturday the 16th. So if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, come to the Oakland Whole Bead Show. And we do have other crimpable products in our line, in case that is something that appeals to you. Any of our 2mm cord ends, except the Taj.
The puffy one.
The puffy one. I think it's the Taj. Any of them with a flat barrel, you can use large crimping pliers to secure those two cords, 1.5 or 2mm cord. That's a really nice alternative to glue. Some people like working with glue just fine, but you can crimp those. We also have crimpable cord ends. We have our Dulce Vita cord ends that fit 2 pieces of 2mm cord, and they're super easy to crimp close. Again, you can also use glue, but and again with the nylon jaw pliers, that's my favorite tool to use to do that. And then we have our Blossom. I don't know if you can see that very well. We have our Blossom cord end, which fits 3 pieces of 2mm cord, so it's just a little bit bigger. Also crimpable or gluable. So if you want to see any of those products, just use the search term crimpable on our website, and all of this great stuff will come up. So that's it. Julie, were there any questions or any?
No, but there were friends saying hello. Sarah Ayler and Danielle Wicks was there also.
Hi, you guys. So thank you
amongst
again.
others.
Oh, wonderful. So thank you guys again for stopping in to watch. And if you do have any questions, just if you're watching this later and you have questions, put them in the comments and I'll catch them and answer them as I can. And we will be doing some more follow-up videos on the smaller groups. I think we've got one scheduled on the 30th of this month. We're going to do a video on the glue-in components from the Finishing Touches line. And on the 6th of November, we're going to do the stitch-in components. So be sure and tune in. Watch out for those and tune in if you can. And thanks, and we'll see you later.